Welcome back. I'm Butch Whitehead with Veterans of the North, and I'm back here again with our Department Commander, Martin Other, and our National Commander, Dan Contreras. You know, Commander Martin, as we just talked about in the previous segment about celebrating our centennial anniversary, you know, what do you think about our services that we've done this first century, and what are some things that we should really make sure we continue to focus on as we go after our next century of service?
Well, I think one of our great efforts has been in the transportation of our veterans to appointments. I think we have 39 vehicles statewide, and we have one chapter that has 6 vehicles that they run a 4-county area with. And I mean, there's a lot of veterans I've talked to because I drive myself. I volunteer to drive myself, and they said, you know, if it wasn't for you guys, I don't know how we'd get to our appointments.
Yeah,
and that's the big thing. I mean, it's something that no other organization provides, and we do it at no cost. I mean, we don't charge them. It's a freebie, so they got no reason to not use it. But it's kind of the basis of our volunteer program is to get out there and help the veterans in any way we can.
Yeah,
and transportation is one of them.
You know, and that's a great point, Commander, because you talk about the volunteer piece and how such a big critical piece of having veterans get the care, you know, and that kind of leads right into something the National's really taken off. And when we're volunteering to get the veteran to and from their medical appointments, that caregiver that's at home, you know, and that's something the National is really kind of taken after. So, National Commander, what are your thoughts about that and how that kind of just piggybacks right into kind of the national focus on the caregivers?
The caregiver aspect of our organization is again another opportunity to evolve in a way that we can help veterans and those who support our veterans. We know that Dave Riley, our national commander, and Yvonne, his wife, is just an amazing example. And Dave used that platform very openly. And Yvonne, I know she's not one to be in the spotlight, but for our organization, she was willing to really advocate for that. And so we had some legislative movement that actually evolved into benefits for caregivers on a VA side of it. So DAV's caregiver initiative was to even go one step further, and that's to provide the concierge service. And this was a program that's not even 2 years old, and it's already helped out 1,800 caregivers, give or take. And it is so much of an important element of our organization. We were able to appoint Ron Minter as the first national director for that program. And so it's very easy. DAVcaregiversupport.org. I'll be talking about it during my remarks again. But so the unique aspect of it is that it's not just for loved ones who take care of veterans, but it's also veterans who take care of loved ones. It's a free service. Go online. It's a quick little analysis that you take that you can't skirt the truth, honestly. I've looked at it myself. And you'll identify those areas that you need those types of services and support. And it sets up a relationship with a care specialist, and that care specialist will be your care specialist from that point forward and help you navigate not only respite care, but how to navigate the complex insurance issues if that's what you have to deal with. But it's a continuing, evolving program that I'm so proud that we've again evolved with that program, like we have with our job program. That being a national service officer, what we could do was just provide as far as recommendations to voc rehab, recommendations to some state or federal education benefits, but DAV again with RecruitMilitary. Now, we celebrated our 10-year anniversary, and so that is something that another evolution in our organization, another great thing that has and of course, Patriot Boot Camp came after that with working with entrepreneurs, and that's something that again our organization has evolved in its 100-year history to just continuously think about what can we do more?
Right. And I think a key point there, Commander, you brought up, I think, which is so unique and so special about the DAV, and that is identify them young. We just talked about in the previous segment about how some veterans have waited 30, 40, 50 years before they come applying for benefits. Well, I think the DAV trying to go out and find those currently serving veterans members, but now veterans leaving the branch of service, whatever branch it would be. Hopefully, Army, of course. That's the best branch out there, of course.
I will say.
Yeah, right. That we get in front of them right away. So we talk about, hey, we can help you find a job, with RecruitMilitary in that great service. And, oh, by the way, have you thought about the benefits that you've also earned? You may, and a lot of these veterans, we know firsthand, every one of us wore that uniform. When we're leaving the military, first thing is the only thing that's on our mind is how fast can I get this uniform off? We're not thinking about the benefits and all this stuff.
Yes.
So now DAV National taking the lead at helping that person get a job, him or her, get a good career set up so then they can be stable for the rest of their life. But then also taking that opportunity to then make sure that they know about their benefits so they're not waiting 30, 40, 50 years. And that goes right along with what Commander Martin was talking about, and that is the volunteer piece. We're all busy, and our organization talks about this a lot, that we're in an aging population right now. You look at the next 5 to 6 years, they're talking about the number of veterans that are going to be 100% or higher service connected. 100% is the highest you can go, but because of the VA math, we know that there's a higher disability out there.
Sure.
That our services are going to be critical to make sure that we're there for providing that care for the veteran, but also the caregiver piece. So that's a great point to talk about there. And Commander, as you came in this year, I remember you pointed me as your adjutant. One of the big things that was very important to you was women veterans.
Correct. Yeah, that was kind of my initiative for the year, was to get women veterans the gratitude that they deserved, along with us male veterans, because they were overlooked for years. And what struck me funny is, like, one of my first events, I had a women veterans there with me, and somebody came up and said, "Well, who are you married to?"
Yeah, they're overlooked a lot.
Yeah, and they thought she was a spouse, and I said, "No, she's a veteran, just like me."
And Commander, with you taking that lead here in Minnesota, I know one of the biggest things that we are really focusing on is ensuring that our healthcare system is prepared to also address some of these women veteran stuff. And I'm very proud to say here in Minnesota, particularly, especially in Minneapolis, they're in the process of building their first women veterans clinic only, women veterans only clinic. And that's going to be a huge thing for women veterans. And, Commander, you've been a strong advocate for women veterans, and I know our women veterans have really appreciated that because they serve in, they're our sisters in arms. They're just as equal as all of us. But the big thing is we got to think about is how things have transitioned over the years. And if you go back to World War II, the Korean War, that wasn't a common thing. There wasn't very many women serving, so they didn't really get the attention they needed to make sure that the systems that we had in place, the healthcare, all those things were in place. And because of commanders like you, Commander Martin, the DAV, really making sure we bring that home, and National Commander, I know National DAVs really did a good job on the women veterans.
Well, and that's really important because that's the fastest growing demographic of veterans, and we know that like one of the really significant things I wanted to do was to identify leaders within our organization, and quite a few of the appointments that I made that I was able to were for very qualified veterans and who happen to be women.
Yep.
And of course, I think providing them with avenues for advocacy in California, we have better than 60 women veterans who attend our conventions, and what we did was to give them an avenue through a resolution process, Women's Veterans Resolution Committee, and so they can focus on specifically those issues. But yeah, I totally agree, and thank you, Commander, for really recognizing our women veterans as being a key element of our organization, no doubt. And of course, when we think about that welcome wagon approach, it's going to be to give them an opportunity to feel like everyone we have an organization of inclusion, not exclusion. So.
Yeah. Commander, you and I have had the privilege of knowing each other for several years. Obviously, you being the Department Adjutant for the DAV of California, me being the Department Adjutant for California, or for Minnesota, we've crossed paths, over the several years, and it's so great that we have that continuity within our ranks. Want to talk a little bit about that, Commander?
Yeah, and I appreciate that, because one of the things that we have within our organization is the Commanders and Adjutants Association, and it's where it's an opportunity for our National Organizations Department to present really the ongoing activities, and that's what I love about our organization, the transparency. But we were able to really identify that we have a lot of similarities with our thrift operations and different avenues of how we can bring more resources so we can provide more services to our veterans. So thank you for allowing me to come and really just shadow you in that process, but also with working with Trent and with J.R. Wilson, our legislative directors, and creating a voter voice avenue so we could get those legislative initiatives out to really get the community to back our Commanders Action Network, because that doesn't have to be a veteran. It can be anybody who's just really interested in supporting our veterans. And I know that here in Minnesota, you have a very supportive community, not only the veterans themselves, but the population of Minnesota. And so, but again, those collaborations with you have really helped me to do a better job with some of the things that we could do in California. Like we shared our chapter convention attendance program initiative, because in our organization, it's not necessarily to meet quotas and membership. It's really to enhance the participation level. And so the investment in participation has really paid off for both of us. And so thank you for just really working together in unison and the collaboration. And so I think that this is the first department convention that I'm going to for the second time in my 6 years on the trail, and it really meant a lot for me to come for your 100-year anniversary. But I just love the warm and fuzzy feel of your department, and I already learned some things that I want to take back, with me that you guys are doing here. But attending your meeting yesterday, the transparency, the conscientious stewardship that you guys do here in Minnesota is so refreshing. And I know we've got the term Minnesota nice. Yeah. You exemplify that to the extreme. So thank you.
National Commander, what you talked about there, and it's something that I think you and I over the years have built our platform on, and that's communication. We're only as strong as our lowest level, and I think that's what we learned in the military, right? When your units are strong, your battalion's strong, your brigade's strong. Well, the same thing National's doing. National has really put the efforts and resources in to ensuring that our departments and chapters have the tools that they need to be successful, and that boils down to communicating. And you talked about the different platforms we use, and that's because we have veterans that are spread out all across our states, all across the country. And we all have different mechanisms that we use to communicate. So we just can't use one simple thing. And National has really done a great job helping us departments really think outside the box when it comes to that.
If I may, we do so much in our organization. And again, you do so much here with your boots on the ground and your legislative side. But the Pact Act was very significant.
Absolutely.
I mean, and it took a lot of effort nationwide to really push that forward. But DAV doesn't stop there, because now we have the Ending the Wait campaign, because there's a lot of individuals who have been affected by toxic exposures like K2, like other military bases like Hawaii and the jet fuel leaks and things. But our evolution in our organization has always been to just kind of strategically look what's forward. And I appreciate that you, even listening to you, talk about what's the next 100 years going to look like.
And I think that's what leads us into, Commander, as we come to an end here on the segment here, what do you see as a kind of a next thing that we should be looking at as we get ready to close out this convention and start focusing on the next century?
Well, I think we have to continue to build on our volunteer programs. We have the outdoor programs, we have the women veterans programs. Our legislative director, Trent Dilks, does a wonderful job. I mean, I look good this year because of all the people I had around me. I had a great adjutant, a great legislative director, the staff. I mean, they make me look better than I am.
Well, I appreciate that, Commander. As we kind of come to a close here on this podcast, I want to take this time to really thank both you commanders. As we talked over, and I sincerely say this, it's your guys' leadership that makes us as strong as we are. When we have what national commander and department commanders that have the vision and the focus to allow the DAV to not lose our focus, and that is solely on veterans and the family members of veterans. That is what's made the DAV be successful and will be successful for the next centuries to come as well. So thank you all. I'm Butch Whitehead with Veterans of the North, and thank you both to National Commander Dan Contreras and Department Commander Walter Barton.